Hello and welcome once again to Talking Pictures Podcast. I'm your host David and join with me as always my co-host Brian. Brian, how are you today?
Kevin!
Brian, before we get things going, I want to say congratulations.
What?
This is episode 100 of Talking Pictures Podcast.
No way.
Congratulations, my friend. We did it. The big check is coming in. We've been bought $1 million.
Dollars?
€1 million.
Yeah, that's more like it.
We are being sold. We're no longer doing Talking Pictures Podcast. This is the last episode. No, I'm only joking. But this is 100 episodes of Talking Pictures Podcast. We've been doing this, can you believe, nearly for 2 years? A new episode every single week. And just before we get things going, I just wanted to obviously congratulate you, but I also wanted to thank the audience, because we wouldn't do this unless, if there was no one listening, which there probably isn't, we wouldn't be doing this. But
I want to thank the audience recently.
yeah, we've noticed an uptick in terms of people, downloading the episode. So if you've ever
going through a lot of our previous released episodes, going through the list,
that's really nice to see. I think that that's one thing that we have always said is, if an episode comes out and it doesn't do well straight away, the thing I've always said is these are evergreen. You can listen to this whenever, and I think that it's great to see so many people not only listening, but people are coming back every week and enjoying this. So it means a whole lot to us that you've stuck with us and you're still listening. So genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. And Brian, thanks so much for doing this with me. But we're not here to thank the people. Well, we are here to thank the people, but we're here to do a spotlight episode for our 100th episode. It is coming into, I don't know if you've noticed this, we're coming into the Christmas season.
I noticed. It's cold outside.
It's freezing. It's freezing inside as well. So we're going to be talking about one of your favourite Christmas movies, that being Home Alone.
Correct, Amundo, David.
Where do you begin?
Yeah, exactly. Because I watched this last year.
Yeah.
And that's when I realised, holy shit, this is class. Not just a classic that's public knowledge. It's class. It's fun. It's brilliant in every way possible. I didn't realise how great it was until last year. And I watched it all my life. I'm watching it this year recently for recording this. I didn't even need to be reminded of that. Everything was so ingrained in my head at this point. I would just sit and watch and receive. If I blackened the screen and listened to the audio, I know what the visuals are. Yeah. If I muted it while I watched it, I knew. They're talking about.
Definitely, yeah. Well, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum for you.
Really?
I watched it last year.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. So
I remember, but what?
So Home Alone was just not one of the films that was in our rotation as a kid for Christmas. So even though I had seen clips from it, and I knew the general plot, that being the last 20 minutes, I had never seen it. And it was also a thing of, as I got older, I would go to sit down to watch it, specifically in like other people's houses and stuff like that. Yeah. And I'd put on like Home Alone, and someone else would go, "Oh, don't put on Home Alone. We watched this last year." And so people would, because it's watched every year, nearly sometimes you kind of need like a year on, year off kind of system with some Christmas movies. Yeah. So anytime I did go to watch it, someone else would say like, "Oh no, let's watch something else." And so I never really had a say in watching it. But last year, I was like, all right, I need to sit down and watch Home Alone. I'm 26. I need to sit down and watch Home Alone. So I watched both Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. So it's a new film for me in terms of like my appreciation for it as a Christmas movie. But that doesn't take away from that, yes, this film is class. It's a great Christmas film and it's a great film.
Did you watch it for this?
I did. I watched it today.
You did?
For this, yes.
Right. So you can concur when I say the blocking of the actors and the movement of the characters is brilliant.
I think that when watching it this time, I definitely did think that. And I thought the whole opening scene, the whole opening sequence, up until the parents leave, I was like nearly closing in on myself, like, this is too chaotic. I hate this so much, the way that all the characters are moving around and the hurriedness and the franticness of it.
Like, it's it's the fact that the cop there, Joe Pesci, is asking like 3 different girls, "Do you live here? Are your parents here?" And you're just
it's too much. Then the pizza guy comes in, all the parents come down and all this, and
no one's paying the pizza guy.
They're still there. They're just leaving these people alone in their house. And
one of the kids opened up the door for the policeman and just walked away.
Yeah, that was definitely it. Yeah, because it opens with him already there.
Yeah, there's a tracking shot with Kevin going to his cousins and siblings from one to another, and they would walk out and walk away, and the camera is still going. Like, pay attention to that again. You see Buzz sitting in his room in the background. You see one of his cousins or his sister comes into frame on the screen and walks out, and he's still with his older brother with the red hair, or that could be his cousin, I don't know. And then another girl comes into it as well, and she's still there. That's just one example of blocking. Later on, not to get ahead of myself, but when they're in Paris, there's just one like blocking shot of Frank walking in with
the shrimp,
and it tracks all the way along to the couch, and then there's Kevin's perspective going from B to A, scanning the room of everyone just looking down at him. A lot of people looking down at him.
Yeah.
Isn't it? They set the camera. This is brilliant. This is so good. I don't know if I should be saying this. I thought John Hughes directed this.
No, he only wrote it. It was Chris Columbus that directed
it.
But what I think was so good, that franticness, it really does feel so like... You feel kind of claustrophobic even though you're in a massive house. But that franticness then contrasted by Kevin waking up and everyone's gone, and the quietness of it, I thought it was perfectly like that franticness. Even though I'm like, oh, this is too much for me, this is too much, it's so needed to have that moment where Kevin comes down the stairs and everyone is gone. And this is probably like, even for him, even though this is a situation where all of his siblings are there and all of his cousins are there as well, and this is a frantic day for them. You feel like that house is still quite noisy. Even if his cousins aren't there, you feel like there's so much going on that this is a real moment for him as well.
It's twofold when they speed up the frame rate and they're late for leaving the airport, and everyone's just going around everything. Like, imagine the director, Chris, telling all those extras and actors, you are coming from this stairs down here and you're going into that room and you're going upstairs.
You need to like individually go through the scene with every single actor. It's like, this is where I want you to go, and then from there go here, and then from there go here.
The camera is still, but the blocking is just next level. And then it's sped up as well, and then you have the parents going in doing their thing as well. Not to also get ahead of myself, but with how Chris Columbus directed some background characters or actors with minimal dialogue, who like one scene presence type of people, whether it's the shopkeep who Kevin is asking, is this toothbrush certified by American Dental Association, or whether it is
the other cashier
and she's thinking to herself and she's having a thought. So some of these people, I really saw the direction and notes that Chris Columbus gave them as if they were acting normal, in natural. Because it was the woman who was asked about the toothbrush, and she looks back and like, okay, because it's such a strange question for a small local store, and she asks this guy to come over here. I've got a question about a toothbrush. She says it to the guy. As she finishes her sentence saying it to the guy, hoping her manager would solve it, and she goes, I don't know, to herself. She uses her facial features, I don't know, like, what the fuck type of question this is. And with the cashier, she was concerned with him, and like she was, eyeing him up. So I like the little notes I can see the actors have received from the director.
Well, I think the thing that you're getting at, right, and I wanted to get at this as well, it's a world and an environment that feels real, that feels lived in. I think that the way that those side actors have the conversations with Kevin, like, he's the fantastical element, because it's like an 8-year-old boy who's smarter than he should be, and is able to give those, and so they're all just kind of like, wait, what is going on? Like, it's almost like that they're on a hidden camera show and they don't know it's a real person. But I think that with the McAllister house as well, that house is so well lived in. I feel that you could open up any drawer or any cabinet and it's full. There are things in it. It's not just we're on a set.
The shelving unit as well.
The shelving unit in Buzz's room, the one he climbs up, it's fully like the spider tank that's there, and then there's like a Monopoly case, and there's so many elements to it that really just do feel like this is someone's room.
And it's not just that as well. When Kevin gets Buzz's life savings, it's not just money in that box. Like, I want to know what else is in there.
He opens the trunk as well, and there's like the magazine and the firecrackers and lots of stuff that we don't see, but it's all stuff that Buzz has in there. It's a real,
it's lived
set.
in.
It's lived in, and I think that's the whole house, and it's the whole grocery store and the convenience store and all these things. Like, there are some little bits of it I think that maybe are a little cartoonish, and that being, I think, when he runs out with the toothbrush because he's scared of old man Marley, and your one is like, I can't remember his name, but she's like, Brian, he's taking away a toothbrush, get him.
No, it doesn't say anything like that at all. It just says shoplifter.
No, he runs out the door and says it to the policeman.
Yeah.
He's shoplifter. Like, shoplifter.
That's what he says.
No, but what does the cashier say to him? Like, stop him.
Jimmy, stop that boy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a little... I think when he runs out and goes, shoplifter, and the policeman chases him, I'm like, that's a little bit cartoonish. Like, it's a toothbrush, like, let's fucking relax.
No. Kid's stealing the toothbrush from a small look.
He's stealing it. He's scared of old man Marley. He's 8 years old.
They don't know that.
I know, but like it's just, I think that's a little bit cartoonish for me. Otherwise, I think that all of the other elements...
First, sorry, you're going off track and I need to say it right. First time I've ever heard the phrase shoplifter.
Really?
When I first watched this movie, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I've heard it.
I've never heard it used anywhere else like that.
But I think that all of the elements outside of the world of Kevin and the Wet Bandits...
Yeah.
They're the cartoonish elements, but everyone else is real, other than that one scene.
Oh man, you're really making me want to say my feelings here, because that's it, isn't it? That's the world. Everything that happens between Kevin and the Wet Bandits is not knowledgeable to anyone else.
Yeah.
Kevin's family do not know what he is capable of, nor what he did while they were away. Nothing. Mm-hmm. They have no clue that he's a genius and he's clever at making traps and he's a great defense.
The only person that would have any inclination into it is old man Marley, and even that is just him saving Kevin.
Yeah, that's it. Limited quite heavily. Like, it's even furthermore New York, like New York City. Kevin can just ask any person next to him, help me. But it's like the Wet Bandits and Kevin are in their own realm.
They're like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Exactly, and like everything else is existing, and these guys are just literally living in their own world off playing cat and mouse, and that they almost become disillusioned in their original goal to ransack the place and rob it.
Once Kevin is out of the house, once he's in the tree house, it's like, okay, let's rob the place. They're just like, they have to get Kevin.
Yeah, they have to get their claws on him, get little mittens.
Can I actually just say as well, just before we go any further, because it was kind of at the start.
Yeah.
Fuck Uncle Frank. I hate him so much. Because he is actually a dickhead to Kevin. Like when he spills the Pepsi on himself and he wets his pants.
It was his father who spilled that on him.
Well, okay, yeah, his pants get wet.
Yeah.
And he stands up and he like calls Kevin a jerk. I'm like, look what you did, you little jerk. I'm like, this kid is 8 years old. You're clearly a 50-year-old man. Why are you calling this kid a jerk? If I called my nephew a jerk, I would be the worst person in the world. Like that, it was just so mean. And it was just so like, it seems like he actively dislikes Kevin. And I think that Kevin is fully justified in the way he acts because of the way that everyone else around him treats him. Because like everyone else like is calling him like a twerp and like disgusting and all this stuff for no reason other than they just don't like him for some reason.
Yeah, like I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you're growing on my ass and saying you're such a disease and you're incompetent.
And his mom and dad are standing there and they're like giving out to Kevin. And it's like, don't let people speak to Kevin like this. Like I can completely understand why Kevin acted this way in saying, even though, I know it's heartbreaking for a mom to hear, like, him saying, I wish you were, like, not all of you were gone.
No, but it's like, this is after we see that, no, excuse my language, but what a mean bitch. I
think all of them were treating him in such a way that he genuinely did want them all to be gone.
But his mother marches him up the room, so embarrassing. Yeah. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He ordered a pizza and it was all ate on him. That's just enough to tick him off. And then she's giving out to him, standing up there with no food, and he says, I'm sorry, it's too late, get upstairs. And it's like when his mother realizes that she forgot him and she's in shock and appalled with herself, ashamed with herself. What kind of mother am I? And I'm going, feel bad. I hope you feel disgusted with yourself. I hope you feel shame. I hope that entirely. And her adventure to get back home to Kevin is a solid redeemer for her.
Yeah, and because of the lengths that she goes to for him.
And it's her desperation as well.
Yeah.
Like, immediately when they get off the plane and they're run Rudolph back to the telephones, and she gives everyone a task to do, so she phones the police station. By the way, most useless police you could have. Like, I want you to go home and see if my son is okay, just to check on him. You're the police. Police.
I think there's definitely a miscommunication in that, because when they go, you want us to go and just check on your son, and they haven't quite grasp the fact that he is home alone.
They haven't grasped the reality that he was left behind and he's all alone.
But that's all because she didn't say that. You know, how are they to know? Like, I think it's just a franticness of he's home alone, and then your one is like, okay, this girl's a bit hyper. Pass her over to the wrong person. It's back and forth, and then it gets lost in translation.
The guy is eating a donut, and the donut is falling on his phone.
Yeah,
police are supposed to interpret multiple variations of communication from multiple people. Mm-hmm. How do I know that?
I wonder.
But I like that when there's no way of getting out of Paris airport, she was suggested, well, maybe something will become available if you wait, and that's it. She's going to wait. And then the cute sad music, she says goodbye to everyone. She hugs her husband goodbye, and she's just going to wait there. This is her Christmas, and she's not going to go home and, like, you know, be grand, you know, not a chance. She's not adapting that philosophy.
And even the lengths that she goes to get home, in terms of, like, trying to convince
with the elderly couple.
The elderly couple, she's like, I'll give you $500, my ring, my watch, my earrings, a pocket translator, and first class tickets.
If you go Friday.
If you go Friday.
Yeah.
And it's like, she really wants to get home. Now, I know they're a wealthy family, and that's probably, like, nothing to her, you know, but still.
Well, it's everything she has on her.
Everything she has on it, yeah. And actually, sorry, one thing as well I did want to say was those airport scenes, like we were saying earlier, where they are just real environments.
Yeah.
The airport is also in that vein, you know.
I missed that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm trying to talk about. Like, I'm going from these little details of these actors with lines of dialogue when the elderly husband is coming to bring his wife onto the plane, and she's going, but, trying to tell her husband of her situation. That's what I'm trying to say, that the actors, every one of them, are given such great notes. But yeah, the whole set of the airports, 3 airports.
You believe that elderly couple have somewhere to go.
Yeah.
They're not just trying to get out of the scene. They have somewhere to go.
I'm fully thinking about what they're going to do for the 2 days they're there.
Yeah.
Until they catch their flight again. If I was an elderly man with my partner, and I was presented with this desperate mother trying to get home to her son home alone, I would definitely help out the best way I can. And later on, when she's not giving up at the desk at the kiosk to get a plane, if she has to sell her soul to the devil himself, she is going to get home to her 8-year-old son. And I like how John Candy was just sitting in the background as well. Like he didn't come on screen when his face was there. He was there already.
I wonder with the John Candy one, did John Hughes specifically cast him because he had been in Planes, Trains and Automobiles?
I don't know.
Because that would have definitely come out before this. And I'm almost certain it would have.
And it did. Planes, Trains and all that came out before this.
Yeah. So I think that maybe would John Hughes or even Chris Columbus, would they have really played on that, like, oh, they're bumped into John Candy at the airport and we think it's going to go one way where she's now going to...
she's stuck with this
similar situation.
Bumbling buffoon who's,
can't get anywhere.
Fails upwards and is only trying to help but indirectly harms her. No,
But the opposite. Yeah. He's just a really nice guy. And I think that's a good contrast to... I know it's obviously a different film, but in the context of where it is, like meeting John Candy in the airport on Christmas, this is the version that is, listen, I heard your story and we're actually heading that way. Do you want to lift?
Yeah.
And she's like,
oh, jeez.
Thank you.
You know? I gotta say it, right? I fully admire John Candy in this movie.
Yeah.
In the 2 to 3 scenes he has.
Very limited when you consider, like, who he was at the time.
And I believe he was only paid a couple of $1,000 for it.
Yeah. It seems to me that John Hughes and Chris Columbus probably were people that certain actors would be like, yeah, no, I'll take a pay cut to work with you. Yeah. That kind of way. Like, they just work well, because John Hughes, I almost certain would have done Uncle Buck.
Yeah, and Breakfast Club.
And Breakfast Club. And Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like classic 80s stuff, at which John Candy would have been a part of a lot of those things. I'd have to look up who did Planes, Trains and Automobiles. I don't know, but I'm almost certain that was also John Hughes.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of that symbiotic relationship of when you have this actor or this writer or this director, they work with certain people. So
like, he didn't even really have a goodbye scene, John Candy. He had this last scene where he was talking to Kevin's mother about what it's like to leave your child behind in a hypothetical, like how his bandmates all have done it, but
there's not even much to his character other than he offers them the lift.
Yeah,
we get the scene where she's in the car and they're playing the music and she's a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but...
And then he has like a nice bit of dialogue, but there's no like action or there's no like trouble with his character or anything. It is genuinely just to give her the ride and have a dialogue scene.
I think it's the helping nature of him. I think the fact that he offers this help, like, I really see myself in him a little. Like, I fully would go out of my way. It's not going out of his way, but I would go out of my way to help this woman.
Mm-hmm. It's just a nice limited role to have him in, you know?
Yeah. So Kevin has a bit of fun, you know, eating junk food and, you know, shooting action figures and doing all that. But then after a while, he becomes more responsible.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a little small detail that I found that where he's becoming more responsible is the fact that he showers, and he does that where he has that dialogue in the mirror to himself where he's like, I wash behind my ears, I did in between my toes, in my belly button.
All the things you're supposed to do.
All the things you're supposed to do. And then also he has a shower the next day. And I'm like, if I was a kid home alone, I definitely wouldn't have like had a bath, 2 days in a row.
I never understood the notion where kids don't like to shower or wash themselves.
Yeah.
Like, showers are class.
Yeah, you can say that as an adult, but I definitely think that if like there were no rules, like I wouldn't, as a kid at his age, like no one could tell me what to do, But the fact that he is there, he's having his shower every day, and like that I'm scrubbing everywhere I should be and all this stuff, and then he's like putting on the deodorant, which an 8-year-old doesn't need, and then also the aftershave as well. Yeah. Like it's very much like a mature thing, and he's also doing the laundry.
He's doing shopping, he's taking the clothes out. I like the boiler scene because I don't know if that's what an actual heater looks like in a typical suburban American neighborhood.
But it does look scary.
It looks great as a mechanical feature for a kid's imagination to look like a monster. With the thing opening up in its mouth. That made me a little scared when I was a few years younger than...
So last year?
No. Even though I walked into that one, but it was good, and it was wrapped over really quick. He says "shut up," and that was
that's it. That's the end of it. Yeah.
I just wanted to say, with all his very many cousins that are in the household, right? First of all, kind of reminds me of me and the many cousins I have. My very many first cousins. It's like one of them was the oldest. Like I can see a few similarities in there, especially when they're lining up together. And it's nice to see the cousins interact with one another as well.
Yeah.
Like Buzz and the older one, she's doing the head count, and then later in Paris when Buzz is talking to his sister, she's concerned about Kevin, which is nice to see, and Buzz is not. And I'm thinking, fuck you, Buzz. But the worst kid in this movie is that little Murphy kid. Comes in, steps in there, just starts talking to these van drivers and asking them all these questions that are just so ridiculous. He's just literally the human embodiment of a buzzing fly that won't go away. And then he's sitting there getting his head tapped, and he's not going to be thinking, oh, I think they counted me as someone else. And then he walks out, thanks, bring me back something, friend. Dude, I hope you die in Paris. He's
not going to Paris. But he's like a buzzing fly because he comes over to the guy that's packing the thing. Yeah. Starts asking questions.
But without even giving him a chance to answer.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. He's asking them in such a way that he's not even giving himself a second to anticipate an answer before he's on to the next question.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just beyond annoying, and he's an annoying fly where multiple people, the two drivers of both cars is like, kid, leave me alone.
Hit the road.
Go away.
I like how immediately the scene starts with them and they had already knocked off the statue as well. Same with the pizza guy.
Yeah, that's a recurring that's gonna keep getting knocked over.
What do you make of the pizza guy? I wonder if that guy gets residuals.
I wonder. He's very I think caricatured as well of the pizza guy. Yeah. Where he's like,
he's not.
He comes in and he's like, nice tip, thanks. Yeah. And then literally the next time we see him is cheapskate. As well. It's
he's not an asshole, but I realized I don't really like him.
I mean, I think he's inconsequential, so much so that I don't have an opinion on him because there's only those two scenes really.
Yeah.
The most I would think about him is in that first scene when all the parents come in, take the food and go, and then just leave him there.
It's my brother's house, he'll take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they just leave him there, and then it's only when the mom comes back in does she pay him, and I'm like, so what, were you just going to have your full dinner and then come out to him, and was he also just going to stand there?
Yeah. Thanks to Kevin for making a muck of things and being sent to his bedroom. Yeah.
Good on Kevin. And let me tell you something.
Yeah.
10 pizzas for 120 quid. That's pretty good. I wish we could get 10 pizzas for
Yeah, man. Don't know about you, but I'm a plain cheese pizza just for me.
You're like Kevin.
Yeah, I'm like Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll be Uncle Frank as well when I in first class and I say, oh, these things are real crystal. Put them in your purse. Put them in your purse.
I hate Frank so
Put them in your purse. the way he does that as well is like so funny.
I hate
do you know what I like as well, right? I don't know why I give him this way too much credit, but when she's in shock and the aunt is tapping the mother's head there, and Frank is just going horrible, just horrible. It makes you feel any better. I forgot my reading glasses.
I was about to say, that's such a terrible line. How would that make her feel better?
But I really do fully get what he means by that, because if I'm going on a flight and if I forget something as useful as my reading glasses, I don't use glasses, so I don't need glasses to read.
I forgot my earphones.
I would have said like my power bank, so if it makes you feel, man, Uncle Frank, I can relate to that.
No, fuck Uncle Frank. You're just as bad. You can't justify Uncle Frank's his hatred towards Kevin for no reason, and also his like uncaringness of, there's two instances. The first one being his uncaringness where he says, if it makes you feel better, I forgot my glasses. That makes me feel better after I forgot my son at home. And the second one is when they're in the hotel room and he brings out the shrimp, and your one is saying, oh, Frank, there for later. Oh, Frank, there for later. And he's not listening. He's just like bringing it around and giving it to people. And it's like, Frank, it's for later. It's not for right now. Listen, I hate Uncle Frank. Fuck Uncle Frank.
I like the little scene where Kevin's dad is going to his mother and she's listening off things. I don't know what I'm forgetting, and she said, did I turn off the coffee? No, I did. Having a little fun with it as well. That's it. I forgot to close the garage. That's it. I like the little unsettling. I'm about to discover the huge mistake that they've made, and they're just both a bit like confused, if not dumbfounded, that there is something that they've forgotten. It's their kid. Yeah. Just so happens to be. I like the little scene when Kevin is actually wanting his family back, because now he's come face to face slightly with the wet bandits. He knows that there are people interested in his house. I like that he goes to Santa's little elf helper, and is he still here? As if they talk about as if oh, the one,
Yeah. Well, I think at the end of the day, that's the thing you need to remember, is that he is still a kid. He is 8 years old.
Yeah.
He has this whole interaction with the wet bandits and he outsmarts them, and, they're arrested. And then he cleans up and he leaves out the milk and cookies for Santa.
Yeah.
He still believes in Santa.
Yeah.
And
he thinks the guy works for him. He said, I know you're not the real Santa. And the guy, what makes you think that? Just out of curiosity, they're smoking a cigarette. And
the beard down as well under his chin. Yeah, like, I think he's a smart kid to come to the conclusion that, no, I know you're not the real Santa, but I know you work for him.
Yeah.
He still has that kid mentality.
I wonder if Macaulay Culkin knew.
That's a curious one, I suppose. You would think that kid actors like that would probably know if they have to interact with Santa in some way.
If they have to act in movies, I think that's another step up.
But I think it's a really sweet scene.
Yeah, I like here when Kevin starts listing off the things he wants. He doesn't want present. He wants his family back. And when the Santa guy, he reacts like, what? And he's thinking, yeah, I'm sure I can work something out with the big guy. It's a nice moment that he gives Kevin some tic tacs as well. Has to get a little something. Don't spoil your dinner.
Like he's a good Santa as well. Like he doesn't know the context of. I don't even think Kevin says they all went to Paris and left.
No, he doesn't say that at all.
He just says he wants them back.
Yeah, because he thinks he made them go away. He made them go away in his imagination because he said that chant. That's what he believed the whole time. It doesn't even come to be resolved until towards the very end when he realizes that they were gone to Paris. But they didn't even discuss that. They didn't even acknowledge that for the sake of the audience, like me, to be to be fulfilled, that Kevin now knows by the end of it he did not make his family disappear, that they did just go to Paris, but we're not informed that. It's just accepted that that's the fact. But when the Santa realised that was a strange request for a gift this year for Christmas, part of me kind of wishes that guy followed up on his request, because the way he reacted is like, I get it, it's a strange thing to ask, but if I was that guy,
you'd be concerned.
I would be a little concerned, and I don't know, I feel like I'm giving backstory to this guy and a character description to him, because Marty is a character with descriptions, and there's a few other people as well. The Wet Bandits have theirs, but I feel like out of all the background actors that have one-scene wonders in this movie. I feel like that Santa guy is the most standout, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I like that actually as a one-scene wonder. I think that's a good way to describe them. But yeah, I think that his ones definitely stepped out. Stood out to me the most
because of what the scene meant. And I just thought, of all the things, like, you have the cash register and you have the shopkeeper, they have all their concerns, and then this guy, I think he's the top of the level. So like, I wouldn't think anyone else would be concerned about, why is this kid alone? Where are his parents? I feel like that guy,
he should have. Yeah. Especially because he says, like, I want my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters. Like, you kind of nearly would wonder, like,
call the police.
Who are you with then? Like, who is supposed to be minding you if all of these people are gone?
Yeah.
So it is, I suppose, a little bit concerning. But I mean, at the end of the day, it is a movie, and I think that the niceness of him, that he doesn't say that he can't do that, because for all he knows, these people might be dead. He might be an orphan, and he doesn't say, like, I can't do that or anything, or like, I definitely will. He's like, I'll have a word with him. Like, I'll say it to the big guy. And then as well, giving him like the last 3 Tic Tacs in his box.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's all he has. And he goes, no, everyone that sees Santa gets something. A little something.
Yeah.
So I liked it. And he's also not he's a Santa, like, he's a college kid. He probably doesn't, that's a weekend job that he has, and like, he goes to the car and the car's a piece of shit.
I honestly feel like I know that actor.
He did seem familiar. Yeah, I wonder if we can look him up and see if we know him from anywhere else.
What do you make of Old Man Marley?
Oh, I love Old Man Marley. He's so sweet. I love him. I think that I love the
many scenes he has where he's introduced and he's being told by stupid dumb Buzz that he's a murderous killer and he keeps his victims in a tin of salt.
He's like the Boo Radley, that kind of trope from To Kill a Mockingbird of like, oh, this is the neighbor that's going to kill you. And every interaction that we have of him is
heaven coming out. I'm not afraid anymore. In comes the boot. That big iconic scream. He runs back, and then he walks into the convenience store.
Same
with the boot. And they have this key moment where he puts his hand on the desk and he's got a bloodied up hand, so you're thinking danger. And then he's just looking at him, staring at him. Now, I like it's as if Kevin is the only one can see him. As if he's a ghost, But he's just standing there doing nothing. But, with the music, it's like with Darth Vader. He comes out and just play the music, the dark costume aside, but still, just play the music. And then you're immediately thinking, this guy's dangerous. And then you don't see him, I don't think, until the church.
The church. And I think the church it's such a great, like, just character moment of these two characters that are at completely different ends of their life.
Yeah.
Speaking as equals almost. And Kevin is...
By the way, when I said the Santa was the top of that list of one scene wonders, this guy, I know he has a few scenes, but just in case... any listeners.
He's the top of that. Yeah. But I think that the way that they speak to each other of like both admitting their concerns and the way that Old Man Marley tells him about he's there to see his granddaughter, this is the only time he gets to see her because he has a bad relationship with his son. That's such a grown-up conversation for an 8-year-old Kevin, and what does Kevin do? Kevin gives him the advice to reunite them, and he just he lifts that concern that he has, like, if it was me, I would want to talk to my dad.
And he says back to him, but what if he won't talk to me, with actual concern in his voice?
Like a child would. Like, what if he doesn't, it's genuine.
At least you'll know.
Yeah. And I think that it's such a lovely conversation and a great, like, breaking down of those walls of the concern that Kevin had with him.
Yeah.
So much so then that the last scene of the film is him looking out at Old Man Marley, and that sweet moment of him hugging his son and his granddaughter, and then he looks up at Kevin and they meet eyes and he waves at him.
Yeah.
Oh, it warms my heart just to know that Old Man Marley is happy, in that moment. The two of them are happy. They both got what they want. They both got their family back.
And I know this wouldn't be a thing with the parents, but with Kevin and his cousins and his siblings, they're not going to know that this is something that Kevin established here with Old Man Marley.
They'll still be scared of Old Man Marley, but Kevin won't. Yeah. He knows him now on a deeper level.
It's like, while Kevin is living in his own realm with the wet bandits, he's got his own little thing with Old Man Marley. And that's something for Kevin to have as well, and us as an audience, that is our avatar, our surrogate, to learn that.
Well, Kevin is so good with other characters as well. Like, isn't it in the second one now? I've only seen the second one once also last year. But it's the pigeon lady.
She is definitely a retread of that type of supporting character. Mm-hmm. In fact, I think every Home Alone has a character like that. A
misunderstood person.
Yeah, a too quick to judge character. Mm-hmm. The two best are Old Man Marley and the Pigeon Lady. But yeah, it is such a sweet moment. Honestly, it feels like the way he talks to him. He walks up and Merry Christmas and a sweater with a bird on it. That's nice. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like your granddad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There definitely is just a niceness to their conversations that I love. I think I really do have a soft spot for him. For Old Man Marley.
Okay.
The big boys. I assume this is where we were heading.
These guys must be rich. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Marv and Harry. Where to begin?
I think it's great to see Joe Pesci here in this like family movie, but taking it just as seriously as he would any other role. You know, he's not phoning it in.
He's not saying curse, shit, fuck and all that. He's saying I couldn't stop myself from laughing. Like, I just bursted out. It came out of my rib cage when he got shot in the groin, and the shot just lingers of Marv speaking to Harry, and Harry's on his knees and he's looking up at him like count how many Mississippis you can when he's just looking at him. He's just going right. Get that nail. Alright, first of all, I like that Harry was introduced already there as the cop. And to some audience, you might be confused when you see him next to this other guy. He's a crooked, he's a thief, he's up to no good. The wet bandits in the van. It's like, hold on a second, is he not a cop? And obviously an adult will cop on straight away, but I think I remember a time in my life where I watched this movie and I thought that cop was not Harry.
Oh right, yeah. You know I can see that as a kid, just not fully connecting the dots. Even though he's casing the place first.
Even though the golden tooth was the giveaway.
Yeah.
Because that's how Kevin copped him.
Yeah. I can understand that. Like, I think a kid, it can be difficult to kind of differentiate that, you know.
I don't know about you, but I really like the Wet Bandits. I like how they're arguing with each other after they're torn out the places in the many houses, leaving them behind, flooding them. Almost runs over Kevin, and he's actually concerned, thank God I didn't kill this kid.
Yeah, and says, you just watch the traffic. You know? Like, I think
obviously he should be the one admitting, hey kid, sorry. It's like, hey, watch it, kid. Santa doesn't visit the grave, little boy. And it's a shame that they're the bad guys.
Because you like them so much. Yeah. Would you have liked to see a third Home Alone movie starring Macaulay Culkin where they team up together against a bigger bad?
No, it has to be the same thing.
It always has to be them.
It has to be the same thing. No.
It's funny that the sequence, the invasion sequence.
Oh, it's everything that everyone talks about.
But it's only 15 minutes.
Really?
It's such a small portion. 15 to 20 minutes. It's such a small portion of the film.
I think it's not 25, is it not?
No, definitely not. No, it's 15 to 20 minutes. Like, it's 20. It's such a small portion of the film. Now, they go there a few times.
Oh yeah, but that discounts it.
Yeah, when I'm talking about the setting of the traps.
Oh yeah, the trap. Literally every iconic trap that is set to make these guys look like a pair of dopes. That's it, right? When you make a movie called Home Alone, it's got to follow a formula. That formula has got to conclude with the crooks and the thieves and the robbers receiving their just desserts in going through torturous traps and hellholes in the house set by the kid. That's the thing. That's the build up, isn't it? It's like the final battle.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're all getting to. But is it funny that that's the thing that people most associate with Home Alone?
Yeah.
And that's what they talk about most, but it's such a small portion of the film.
Yeah, but it comes together very well.
What's your favourite trap?
My favourite trap?
Yeah.
One for each guy?
No, just in general. Well, you can do one for each guy.
One for each guy. I like it when Marv... I don't know if I can pick between burning his hand to getting his head caught on fire, because each time it ends with him going stubbing his way down and launching himself into the snow, because when he touches that handle, the door handle, I fully relate to that. I've been burned before.
Yeah.
I get
you get flashbacks.
Yeah. I think the classic one with Marv is the nail.
Yeah.
The nail, definitely. But I think like together, and I think it was actually the first one I thought when you asked me that question. It's when he cuts the rope
and they both fall into the wall.
Yeah, it's like the two of them going out onto the thing, and it's like, hey guys, check this out, and they both like, go back.
Yeah,
go back.
Stop it. Go back.
As if that's gonna make a difference.
Yeah.
I like that because it happens to them together. I relate to Harry in a way because he says, ever since I laid my eyes on the house, I've wanted it. I actually feel myself for 2% rooting for this guy to ransack the place. And I like that he, it's cool, right? He delivers the line of the title, he's home alone. I like that as well, and he cops on very quick. I like how this goes back to the little notes that the director gives. When they exit the window and, onto the rope, Harry whips out a cloth and he wraps his hand with it because he's just recently burned it.
Yeah.
It's great that was in there for continuity and continuity with the script. But it's great how I actually rewinded it a few times to watch Joe Pesci do it because he's delivering dialogue while he does it.
Yeah, it's like a second nature thing of like, he's just putting it on. I always thought of it as he's putting it on to not get any rope burn or something like that, protect his hand. But yeah, it's not a close-up shot of him pulling it out.
It's a wide shot.
It's just, he's giving dialogue and that's just something the character is doing. Yeah.
Oscar-winning actor.
I mean, yeah. Not for Home Alone, but...
I seen him in this before I saw him in any of his gangster roles.
I mean, you were a kid, so yeah, definitely you would have seen him. This is probably your first Joe Pesci exposure.
Every time they fall up on ice, it's sore, isn't it? It's sore looking.
You feel it. It's just, you feel like their full weight coming down.
Yeah, and Harry slipping on the stairs and he's just gripping it onto the handlebars. And when Marv steps on all those little bulbs and they smash on,
I was going to say
fully on, right? Cartoonist. He launches his feet onto the ground.
That's what I was going to say. That's my favorite of his traps.
Yeah,
because the way that he like sneaks in the window, he's ever so quiet. He's like looking around. He doesn't ever think to look down at once. And yeah, you could see like it was clearly like, okay, you're gonna have to put your feet down really hard to smash these. And it's like his feet go like boom down, just to really emphasize it. And it feels really cartoonish of like bam down onto it.
And then for good measure, he steps on another one.
He steps on another one, and the way he walks on like the sides of his feet, then
and it just explodes. It just pops. And speaking of not looking down, all the little toys that they just walk on.
The cars at the end of the stairs.
All the stunt work that has to call. Man, that's that. I don't know, man. Like you say, what's my favorite? Man, they're all great.
They are, yeah.
Some are better than others, but they go up. He throws a paint can. Heads up! So, you hear that first. You actually don't realize heads up, and he kept his head up. Marv did. And don't worry, Marv, I'll get him for you. Here comes another one.
Not learning the lesson that was immediately just taught.
Yeah.
I think my other favorite one is probably then when he sets your man's head on fire.
Yeah.
There's just something about that image of the fire coming down and his eyes going so wide. It's like,
count how many Mississippis you can get up to with that, and then the wide shot of him
out into the head into the snow, and then they come up and you see the consequence of it. Not only is the hat gone, but the hair is gone and the scalding scalp.
Here's something I've noticed a few times now, more than once, more than the last year when I watched it. When Harry is there at the snow, distinguishing his head from fire, Marv is at the bottom of those steps in the basement.
Yeah, it's good that these things are all happening concurrently. That's not just like, even though it does go like, Marv, Harry.
Yeah.
The things that are happening to Harry, Marv is also going through something at the exact same time. It's not...
I was more so taking the fact that, Harry, if you just wait there another minute, Marvin's going to come up those steps.
And you can work together. Yeah, I get you, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the atmosphere of the location coming into effect. I just feel like I've copped that for a bit because that's the closest they're ever to each other before they meet up in the house again.
And when they meet up in the house, it's kind of like, oh, you're here too. You know, like I didn't think you would make it in. Like they're surprised to see each other in the house, even though that's their intention is to get in.
And a good way to display what these characters are, when Harry asks Marv, why'd you take your shoes off? A very practical question in this case. And what does Marv ask Harry? why are you dressed like a chicken?
Yeah.
Like,
not giving an answer.
Yeah.
You know, that there was sticky stuff on the stairs.
Yeah, but like, what an idiotic thing to ask. Like, not, why is your head burnt? Not, did you find the kid? No, just ask him, why you dressed like a chicken? Like, why doesn't he say, why do you have all that shit on you? No, not the case. It feels like with every trap they go through, they get much more dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
And before we get to the final part, gotta say, the spider is one of the best companions ever in this movie.
Yeah, not even like what's so good about it is that wasn't part of Kevin's plan.
Yeah,
it was never like, okay, I get the spider and I use it and anything. It's just he is about to be caught. Like he is the closest he's ever been to being caught, and the spider is there, and he's like, okay, perfect. And the way he picks it up as well, that's not like, you know, come into my hand or anything. He picks it up, puts it on, and that scream from him. I think that's my favorite scream in the whole thing. It feels like a guttural, like it genuinely, it's probably the best scream I think in the whole film.
I wonder if that was a real tarantula on
I think so.
Daniel Stern's face.
I think so.
By
the looks of it, yeah.
God damn it. That's it's also the shot as well of Marv's perspective looking up and the spider landing on his face, like the spider being landed on the camera. I'm afraid of spiders.
Yeah.
Especially big chunky ones like that.
Big, yeah. Thick ones. Yeah.
And I like that. It's as if Harry doesn't become aware that there was a spider there in the first place. He similar to like that spider inclusion, it's just between Marv and Kevin.
Yeah, yeah.
But at the end of it all, Kevin, this whole time with these traps, he was commenting on them, you know, making remarks and trying to fool them, saying, oh no, I'm really scared. Okay, well, come and get me. Hey, I'm calling the cops. Because of the distance he was able to put between him and them, that's the most amount of communication they have. Because
there's no conversation.
No, there is literally, and I feel like when you watch the second one, you want that to happen, but no. You think you could get that when they're coming face to face, and when they are face to face, he's just in shock and he's quiet and he's got nothing to say, and it's as if the cartoonish and the wackiness of all that is brought back down to grounded reality when these two bandits have a kid in their possession and they're going to murder him
in the Murphy's house. Yeah. And God love the poor Murphys coming back to that house being completely flooded.
I'm glad for him. Well, not for his parents.
Not for his parents.
No, definitely that kid. He definitely caused that mischief.
Yeah.
But I think it's important not to ignore or forget that there is no exchange between these guys at all, really. It's similar to the Coyote and the Roadrunner. The most of the relationship they have with one another is the traps and the torture. But no dialogue exchange, even though they're capable of it.
No, like, pleading or no, okay, we'll leave or anything like that.
No explanation, nothing of the like. Kevin's just dead silent because he's a kid, and that's how a kid would feel. Like, that's how a kid would be treated, how he would act. And I just think that's interesting, no?
Yeah, no, it is. And it's not something I ever even thought about, the fact that they don't really share any dialogue other than, I mean, they share the dialogue when it's not even really dialogue when he tells him to be careful.
Not the traffic. Not the case at all.
You know, so
I just think that's very interesting. I wonder if anyone else noticed that. But
any other examples of where the heroes and the villains don't actually talk? You know, they just have one-liners towards each other.
Because he's just commentating on their all torturedness, you know. And at the end of it all, when they get arrested, thank you, old man Marley. Like that was the most of reality coming into their realm.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to know what happened after that. Did he just walk him home and he just walked him inside his house and did old man Marley call the police, or did he have words with the police and left it at that? You know, I'd like to know what happened there. But I felt bad for Harry.
Why? They were the bad guys.
When that police car reversed backs onto the road and you see Joe Pesci looking over at the window and you see Kevin, he's just waving at him, making that little grin. It's Christmas.
They're criminals, Brian.
And all Harry wanted was just to get something nice for himself, and he looks over And his entire life now is ruined by the hands of this kid. And he looks
He chose to be a bad guy.
His face is all tortured. The look at him. Mm-hmm. Like, I can't think much of any other examples of proper defeat in someone's face, in someone's eyes, when he looks over at that window and he's just looking at it like, how did it all come to this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, in fairness, I suppose it's that whole thing of adding insult to injury of not only did he get caught, but he got absolutely tortured. You know, it's not like he got away with it all and was back at his apartment and then the police came in and they caught him by CCTV or something. It was being fooled by a child and being tortured by a child before being caught.
You didn't feel bad for him?
No, he's the bad guy.
Nah, I feel bad for
him. They get out. Guess what?
What?
They're in the second film.
They're
not the wet bandits. They're the sticky bandits.
No, he pulls out a gun on them. They deserve every form of torture they get. And that, like,
in that second film.
When you introduce weapons of that destruction, all bets are off. Get your hands
No sympathy from Brian then.
Not at all, man. Whip out a gun on a kid. You're supposed to talk to this kid, not kill him.
Fun. This is supposed to be funny.
Is there anything else you liked or you wanted to talk about? Or?
No, I think you covered everything. Like I said, you know, I think it's a
classic.
It's a classic. It's a great film. I'm sorry that I didn't get to see it before last year, but you know, I'm happy to watch it and I'm happy to stick it on. And I love seeing Macaulay Culkin. You know, he's a very, very clever child, and he's just a great character. And I love seeing little Romulus there as
Romulus.
Yeah, Romulus.
Romulus what?
From Succession. His little brother, Kieran Culkin.
Roman.
Yeah, Romulus.
Romulus. His dad calls him Romulus.
That's what I call him too. Yeah, Romulus. You better be sniffing your armpit.
You better be sniffing your armpit, Romulus. There's just two things I wanted to touch. One that's another great classic, and one that's actually quite beautiful. The dance scene where he has all the silhouettes in the household.
Oh yeah, trying to make it seem like there's
so much set up in there. Like Kevin doesn't even need to stand in there just to fill another figure in, convincing that this house is nowhere near empty.
Yeah,
that's a great classic scene, isn't it? But when his mother comes home, and they're reunited.
Guess what he wants for Christmas.
Yeah, but it's that redemption arc I felt that his mother went through, because at the start of the movie, utter bitch, real meanie, like, I do not like you, I hope you face the worst of shame, guilt and anxiety because you left your child home alone. You should be taken to court for that.
Child neglect.
Exactly. And that's why it's important to see the work and progress she goes through, to see her determination to get back home, literally do anything she does to get back home. And when she's smiling saying happy Christmas, Kevin, and he doesn't answer her, and she goes down to his level. She's not towering over him, the camera's not looking up to her, and she apologizes. And that's all she had to say at the start.
And it's good that, you know, we got to see her journey, because if it had just been,
you
know, Kevin wakes up and there she is and they've returned.
If anything, we could have done with a little bit more of her.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, no, I'm glad that, because he could have very easily, like, she comes down and said sorry, and then he could have very easily said it's too late or something like that.
Yeah, or like,
you know, copy her.
Yeah, or like, it's seeing the work done on screen and it's seeing the payoff here, and he runs to her and hugs her, and you know what, I think it was almost ruined with the rest of the family coming in as well.
No, I find it funny.
No, it's funny, but I don't know. I think it would have been nice for Kevin and his mother to just have the house to themselves for half an hour at least and just talk about that. But the most that his family know of Kevin and his shenanigans is that he went shopping.
Yeah.
They don't have an...
And they're all really impressed by that.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if they knew everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the formula of Home Alone... What happens in Home Alone stays at Home Alone.
Yeah.
No family members can know what the kid got up to when it comes to torturing robbers and seeing the one thing you always seek out the most in a given Home Alone film. So, classic.
Yeah. Brian, thank you so much for joining me for this 100th episode of Talking Pictures Podcast, and thank you so much for listening. We, once again, like we said at the top of the show, we really, really appreciate you liking, subscribing, and listening most of all, and, you know, it's just a great feeling to know that people out there are listening. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you're subscribed to us on your favourite podcasting app of choice, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. We're there, so make sure you're subscribed. You can send us in topics or suggestions for bonus episodes to talkingpicturespodcast1@gmail.com, or you can leave them in the comments down below of whether that be Instagram or Twitter or YouTube, wherever you're watching this. If you can, make sure to give us 5 stars on your favourite podcasting app of choice. You can leave a little review. Costs you nothing, gives us everything. Share it with a friend, let people know if you're enjoying this. If you think that they'll enjoy it, make sure to send it over to them. Brian, once again, thank you so much. 100 episodes, great achievement. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, David.